So melee, melee and missile are fairly easy to explain. You look for the symbols. If you roll them, you use them. Magic, we kind of didn't talk about magic the first time around because it's pretty tricky to talk about. And I think it's one of the things that makes this game the most difficult for others to pick up. Right, Tim?
Right.
See, and Tim plays all the time. But anyway, so we're going to talk about magic briefly. There are 5 colors of magic. There's black, red, or Ryan may rip out my rulebook pages at any moment in time and to make this an exciting video. But there's 5 different types of magic. There's red, black, green, blue, and gold, right? Gold?
Okay, right.
Yeah, and gold, yeah. Those 5 colors of magic.
Cat magic.
Now, in every color of magic, there's basic spells and there's racial spells. And the basic spells means anybody can cast them that can cast that color. Racial spells mean only specifically that race can cast that spell. Now, you say, well, if a lava elf only casts red and black magic, as we covered in one of our earlier videos, how can they cast a green basic spell? It's a great question. Remember we talked about these standing stones? These standing stones allow you to cast that color of magic that matches terrain. This is a swampland, so green and gold. So if a lava elf army captured this terrain, not only could they cast red and black basic and lava elf racial spells, they could also cast green and gold racial, or green and gold basic spells, excuse me. Now the thing about casting magic is, if this guy is at a highland terrain casting magic, like this little starburst is magic, he is red and gold and the terrain is red and gold. So if he rolls his ID, this goes for every race, except there's a couple caveats for Amazons and Frostwings, but if this guy rolls his ID at this terrain and he matches any color in this terrain, he can double. So if he rolls his ID, that's 6 red or 6 gold. Now if he's at a 8th phase standing stone, this is green and gold. So this would be 6 points of gold, right? Because he can double the gold. 3 points of red, or since it's a swampland has green, it's 3 points of green. All right, so that's how magic works. Now we're going to run through the basic spells with you real quick. TJ is going to talk to you real quick about the black basic spells. TJ likes to use the undead. He's our newest player, even though sometimes Nick acts like he's our newest player. But he's going to talk to you about the black basic spells here real quick. Go ahead, TJ.
All right. So black basic spells are pretty simple, but the one thing I should probably talk about first is that there is only one way to double black magic, and that is through other people's dead. Or actually, never mind. There's 2 ways: through other people's dead or your own. Most races that have black magic, and actually the only way to get black magic is to have black magic, like the undead, the lava elves, and the frostwings. Almost all black races with black magic, except for the undead, can only choose one dead unit area to double their black magic. And they can only double to how many points that are dead in that area. Undead can choose through the entire dead units of the game that they can double. Okay, so going to the black spells themselves, the Ashes to Ashes is the cheapest with a cost of 2. It targets 1 health worth of units in any enemy's dead unit area. Target units are immediately buried. Multiple casts increase the number of health affected or target another dead unit area or another unit in the dead unit area. Then you have Palsy, which is...
Well, just to explain that, so for 4 points, you could bury a 2-pointer.
Alright, for 4 points you can bury a 2-pointer. So then next spell is Palsy. It costs 3 magic, and it targets any enemy army. And until the beginning of your next turn, you subtract 1 result from the target army. So say if these people right here go ahead and, I don't know, they were rolling for a melee attack, and they have one palsy on it, they would lose one melee result on that. So with
Same
all
goes
of these,
for saves too. If they're rolling for saves, they'd lose this save.
and magic, and missile, and maneuver, and whatever else they are doing, except for SAIs.
Why is that, TJ?
Because SAIs are never affected by spells. Alright, and palsy is stackable, so you don't just have to cast it. Well, you're not only allowed to cast it once, you can cast it multiple times on one army or multiple armies. Next spell is Reanimate Dead, which is their resurrection spell. It costs 3 points per unit, and so if you want per health. So if you want to bring back this Lich, he's 3 points. It costs you 9 points to bring him back. And for resurrection spells, I believe you can combine them as long as like all 3 points or in multiples
of 3. Yeah.
In multiples of 3, you can combine them. So you don't just need 3 black magic. You can have 3 red and 3 blue, and then 3 black to bring him back. I don't believe green and gold have resurrection spells because they suck.
Not basic ones.
Correct.
Alright, the next one is the second way how to double black magic, and that's Deadlands. What it does is it gives your terrain, so whatever side it is, black, so it can double through IDs. So instead of for undead, since the only way they can double outside of Deadlands is by dead units, it gives them a way to double, like at the beginning of the game when there's not very much dead, or if no one's dying off very quickly. So typically you're going to have that cast on the magic faces of them and the 8th face. One problem with Deadlands is if you move the train, it goes by. And I should probably say it's worth 4 points, so it's not that much, and it's very good to cast it very early. Okay, the next one is very useful and offensive spell called Finger of Death. It's worth 4 points. It targets. That's what I said. It's the same thing. It targets any enemy unit and immediately inflicts 1 point of damage to the target unit with no saves possible. So, and if you can cast multiple times on one unit to kill it. So you can for this 1 pointer, you just have to cast it once, so 4 points to kill this, and no saves, it just dies. For these 3 pointers, you'd have to cast it 3 times just to kill it one. So 3 times 4 is 12, so then that's gone. And you can cast it on just one person, multiple times as needed, or cast it on like 3 times. Instead of killing one of these, you kill 3 of them. Then the next basic spell and the last one, which is very useful, it's called Open Grave. It's cost 6 spell points. It targets any army until the beginning of your next turn for any army targeting effect, so like attack, melee attack, ranged attack, or some other spells that affect an army and not individual unit. Whatever units die because of that, instead of going to the dead unit area, they go to your reserve area rather than your dead unit area. And you can cast it multiple times, but it has to be on different armies. And can it be cast in reserves?
Yep.
It apparently can be cast in reserves on reserves.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that would be very interesting to see in a game. I've never been one of those. So pretty much, let's say this army of dwarves attacks this army right here, and they have Open Grave on it, and this is their role. Say they're meleeing this. As you see, that's 3, 6, 8, 9 damage to this, which it only has 6 damage. So they have Open Grave. Instead of going to dead unit area, they all would go back to reserves. And actually, that's it for black magic.
All right. Yeah. So that's a quick run of black spells. So thanks TJ for doing that. I think next would be blue magic.
Hailstorm.
So Jared's gonna cover the basic spells for blue magic. Take it away, Jared.
Basic blue. All right.
Basic blue.
Give me some blue stuff.
There's one right there.
All right.
There you
So
go. Here's some blue
blue
stuff
magic,
here.
sometimes referred to as the most powerful magic. If you ask me, it's pretty cool. Maybe not the most powerful, but it's definitely got some
The most
perks.
offensive.
Perks to it. Defensive, offensive.
Actually, there's no defensive,
It's just offensive.
and maneuver.
What about wall of ice? Or
That's
Wall of ice would be a green spell because ice is made out of water and water is green.
Exactly.
For some reason.
Okay, so first basic blue spell is Hailstorm. It's a great kind of 2-point spell. It's stackable. You can cast it on armies, not individual units if they're the only ones that exist.
Well, it's army targeting.
But yeah, in an army if there's only one unit. But for instance, if I'm at this terrain, I roll an ID. Eldarim guy here is 4 points, doubles to 8. He could cast up to 4 2-point hailstorms for a total of 4 points of damage.
Because hailstorm does what? For every 2 points it does.
Stacks and adds.
For every 2 points it does 1 damage.
Yeah, for every 2 points. So the targeted army would roll for saves and see what happens.
One of the nice things about hailstorm, you can also target armies in reserves.
Yeah.
A lot of people run their mages back to reserves, and then boom, you get some hailstorms. They're like, oh crap.
So the resurrection spell for the blue is Breath of Life. It's 3 points of blue magic for every 1 point that you would like to resurrect. So with all resurrections, it has to be whole units for each magic type. So in this case, if we rolled our Eldarim again and we got 8 blue magic, we could only cast 2 Breath of Life to bring back 2 points worth of units. And more castings. So if I had more people, say some of the feral roll some IDs or something, theirs would count with it, and we could resurrect more points worth. Next one we got is Windwalk. This is a great spell to try and capture terrain. We use it all the time usually at the end of our games, or that's the result at the end of the game. But it's also nice when you want to try and keep another army from moving a terrain in any direction. It's kind of helpful when you've only got 1 unit out of terrain, because some groups of monsters or groups of units sometimes can't roll for maneuvers at all, or they have a very difficult time, and so a windwalk would help an individual try and win the terrain.
What does a windwalk do?
Windwalk costs 4 points, so in the event the Eldarim again rolled his ID, he could get 2 windwalks since his ID matches the terrain. You get 2 windwalks with a total cost of 8, and for each windwalk, as you can tell it's stackable, adds 4 maneuver results to the target army. So in the event that the Eldarim was by himself and he wanted to keep the terrain at 1, he could cast 2 windwalks on himself to keep the terrain down and possibly prevent a missile army or somebody or some other group from attacking him or some other group.
And one thing I do want to add about windwalks is it's an additive modifier. So a lot of times at 8th phase, and when you have 8th phase, you double your maneuvers, but that happens during. There's a long step process, but windwalks were added at the end, so you wouldn't. If you had 1 windwalk, would not be worth 8. It would still only be worth 4 if you had 8th phase.
Lastly, we have Lightning Strike. It's a favorite spell of many. We have our 4-point Eldarim here. Say he rolls his ID at this blue terrain. It would total for 8 basic blue magic. For 6 points, we can cast Lightning Strike and zap a unit. It's unit targeting. It does not stack. So in this case, since we have 8 magic, we'll spend 6, have a remainder of 2, target a unit. In this case, we've just got this 2-point bird here in front of us. to get fried, but in most cases it's very useful to use on higher point units to try and eliminate, you know, a big chunk of another person's army. You can have multiple castings, but they cannot stack on units. So if we had 2 of these units here, we would need 2 lightning strikes if we wanted to strike them both. The units have to generate a save or be killed. So this nice gold Eldarum, which I'm sure you can't see any of the faces on. This white Eldarum that you can see the faces on. If he were to generate wings, he'd be safe. His ID, he'd be safe. His possibly, I don't know. Not even his cantrip, I don't think could save against that.
That was 2-point ID.
It's 2 point, 4 point in this.
His 2-point, yeah, I believe we talked about this, was an individual save. So that would count.
And lightning strike can also target.
Lightning strike can target anyone on the board,
Including reserves.
including the reserves,
Except for your dead units. Or buried units.
because they're already dead.
Alright.
But that's blue magic.
So next we're going to cover gold magic. Gold magic is going to be explained by Nick.
Okay, so there's really only 4 basic gold spells. The first one we'll talk about is Stone Skin. I like to use this one a lot because it seems like I'm always the one getting killed. What Stone Skin does is it adds 1 save result until the beginning of your next turn. It's a army targeting effect, and it can be stacked, and it is very useful. The next one is Dust to Dust, which is kind of like Ashes to Ashes. Basically, you target one of your enemy's DUA or dead, and it's automatically buried.
3 points.
3 points, and it's buried.
So
3
so
points
it's-
buries 1 point.
Yeah,
3
it's-
points of magic buries
yeah,
1
it's
point.
1 point more expensive than Ashes to Ashes.
Yeah. Path is used for usually,
Hold on, we gotta.
say that I'm here at an 8 face, and I roll,
This is at a 7.
and I have 2 units here, and I roll the ID here for 8 points of gold magic. For 4 points, I can path 1 unit to another terrain, and then be able to take another march with that unit.
He's essentially created another army, and since in your marching order you're allowed to take 2 marches, so this army, since it's a new army, it's the second army can now take an additional march. So
Path is extremely powerful when you get close to the end of the game and you're trying to capture another 8 base to win the game. Next one would be Transmute Rock to Mud, which is... it's alright unless you're me using it and don't really know how.
At least he's honest.
it works really well in conjunction with Path.
Yes. It's worth... casting cost is worth 5. Subtract 6 maneuvers. So...
8. No, it's 6.
it is stackable. So you can put multiple castings on the same army. So say I roll...
Oh, it might help if that was an ID. There we go.
Okay, so we have 7. Say I roll that, and that's 7 maneuvers. And then I have a Transmute Rock to Mud on me. It subtracts 6, so I really only have 1. It's really good to use when you have less units at a terrain and you're versing another army that says to say that has more maneuverability than you do.
It works really well in conjunction with path. So in this example, let's say Nick had this guy here. This guy's about ready to take his 7th face. Nick casts path, moves him over, then he casts transmute rock tomb on this guy. So Nick's second march, he marches with him. This guy's got to subtract 6 maneuver results, so Nick's almost guaranteed to take this train, except that he's got a couple of SAIs that would dispel my effect.
And that's pretty much gold magic.
Very good, thanks Nick. Green magic is really more of a defensive magic. They really don't have anything offensive. Actually, they don't have anything offensive, period, in terms of basic spells. The first one's Watery Double. Watery Double is real similar to Stone Skin. It adds 1 save result to your army. It stacks, so if you cast 20 Watery Doubles, you add 20 saves. One thing just to note, like if somebody smites you, hits you with smite, you're still going to take 4 damage. The best thing about Watery Double compared to Stone Skin, why it's superior, is it actually lasts till the beginning of your next turn. End of your next turn, I apologize. Stone Skin goes away at the beginning of your next turn, so it'll last through a dragon attack. So it's pretty powerful. Wall of Ice adds 3 save results. It costs 3. I don't know if I said Watery Double costs 2, but Wall of Ice costs 3, has 3 save results. Those only last till the beginning of your turn, and they do not stack. So you can cast them on a different army, but they don't stack. And apparently green guys keep coming in, which is really good. Wall of Fog. Wall of Fog works well again, also with conjunction of path that Nick talked about. You target any terrain until the beginning of the next turn. It's the whole terrain though. To begin the next turn, you have all maneuver results at the terrain, so it affects any army at the terrain, not just the opponents. And also half missile results into or out of the terrain. Into or at the terrain. So Amazons works really well on Amazons or anybody else that tries to bring a stupid missile army. Not that we think they're stupid.
I think they're stupid.
So, and the last spell that Green Magic has is actually a very annoying spell. It's called Flash Flood. And what Flash Flood does is it causes a flood to attack the terrain. Any armies at the terrain have to generate 8 maneuvers or the terrain drops. So if somebody's at a 7th face and they got a couple units there and they think they're win the game, you cast Flash Flood on it and you drop it to 6 and then everybody cries. So you do have a chance to stop it. You have to roll 8 maneuvers, but depending that's nothing. Depending what kind of army they have there, there would be 3 maneuvers. If there's more than one army there, as long as one army stops it from dropping, then it won't drop. So if these guys stop it and these guys don't, they would stop it from dropping. So that concludes the green magic portion of our video today. We will end the video today with red. And Ryan is going to talk to you about red magic. And right there.
Alright, red magic is pretty cool. Has a couple legit spells. Some of the other ones kind of suck, but that's alright. The first spell that costs 2 points is Ash Storm. It's a lot like the black spell Palsy, but instead of targeting an army, it will target the terrain. So if, like this Necromancer here, casts Ash Storm here, not only does it affect these guys, it will also affect him too. The next spell is Spark of Life. Cost 3, it's your resurrection spell, it's like all the others. Increments of 3 that bring back something. Okay, Burning Hands, cost 4. It's pretty legit. Let's say, give me some more units here.
You got a Mammoth Rider or something.
Yeah. Let's say this army's attacking this one here, and your Necromancer rolls a cantrip. You can cast Burning Hands. That guy's gonna roll some melee here. Boom. You can cast Burning Hands on this guy, and what it does is it doubles his melee. So instead of 2, that would be 4 against this army here. And it's pretty cool because you can just load that up on your units, and it stays with them until they use it, and or die. So you can just chill in reserves, cast a bunch of Burning Hands, come out, and then just slaughter someone. It's a pretty cool spell. And the last one is my personal favorite, which is Dancing Lights. And what Dancing Lights does is it halves magic and missiles on a certain army. Like you cast Dancing Lights on this army here, and then their magic and missiles are halved. And you half before you double. So let's say like a bunch of these guys roll an ID or something. You would have to count all the magic. So this would be like 3, 6, 7, 8. And you would half that and it'd be 4. So logically you would take that. And then you can double these guys.
If you match the terrain.
If you match the terrain. And that costs 6. And it's pretty good if like you're getting stuck in like a magic battle, because you can just keep halving their magic and then over time you would slowly win.
Yeah, that works great. So that concludes all the basic spells for today. I think that's all we're going to do for today. We want to roll some dice. So hopefully next couple of weeks we'll maybe start talking about some racial strategy tips and tricks, and about what our favorite units are, about how we like to use them, and maybe some moves that nobody thought of before, maybe some things that everybody else thought of and we just like figured it out like 2 days ago.
Like SAIs.
Right, like SAIs affecting other SAIs. So, yeah, just so you know, I've been playing for 2 years. I think Ryan, Jared, and Chris have been playing for maybe a year and a half. And then TJ and Nick are newer. TJ maybe half a year, Nick maybe a year. And we still learn stuff all the time about stuff that we didn't know. So, it's a very, I don't say complicated, because it is complicated, but it's not. But there's a lot of things to learn in this game.
The stuff that's really complicated is like all the SAIs
And spells.
and spells. But after that, once you get some of those down, it becomes pretty easy.
Sure, absolutely. So, anyway, so
That's your main.
until later, that's
How?
We.
Roll.